Today is actually probably the biggest crash we've had on Bitcoin in a long time.
So if you're the guy on your desk that has Bitcoin in your portfolio still and it crashes, like you might actually be super fucked. It's something that you wouldn't even know about being from outside the industry. All the traders blew up. They're all suing each other. They're all accusing each other of crime and fraud.
I bought a whole coin at the time. I've actually never sold Bitcoin.
You earn the right to buy and hold more Bitcoin based on how much you understand.
I printed a 50-page dissertation. I just sat there and read that whole thing.
Bitcoin is for saving. Crypto is for gambling. Bitcoin is money. Crypto is finance. Eventually, I think will be base money for all humans. Today, it's still a speculative store of value and has a long way to go.
Welcome to Aware with Seb, a globally ranked podcast about leveling up your mind, business, and life. I bring you experts, artists, and CEOs. We talk money, biohacking, mindset, AI, leadership, and spirituality. Everything that makes you more aware. Because awareness makes better humans. And better humans make better friends, partners, lovers, and leaders. Let's go. Cory Klippsten.
Hey, Sebastian.
What's up, brother? Good to see you.
It's great to see you. You look exactly the same.
You look exactly the same. I'm kind of shocked. I'm honestly shocked.
It's only been 5 years.
But you have 2 kids.
Yes.
And a family, and I feel like that tends to age most of my homies.
Yeah, well, but they're getting older now, which is why you get the you get some of that time back, and you can put it into looking good again, and getting back in the gym and all that. So it's better.
Good. That's good. I'm glad to hear. We're gonna go straight into a smash or pass.
Okay.
Smash or pass, Cory. Here we go. People who explain Bitcoin at parties right when you meet them.
Oh, smash. My homies. I love those guys.
That's definitely
merciless.
Bitcoin maximalism as an identity.
I'm actually going to pass. And I actually wrote about this on Twitter yesterday. I prefer just Bitcoiner, but it's not for, I'm actually, from any casual observer, I'm like the best or the worst of the maximalists.
Actually.
Yeah, except that term is actually created by opponents of Bitcoin. It was created by a shitcoiner deliberately to slander Bitcoiners.
Got it.
And so then if you call somebody a maxi, it's like a diminutive of an epithet.
Interesting.
And so some people choose to adopt it, just like, some of your gay friends will call each other, FAGs or whatever, but like
right.
up to them.
I get it.
You can't get away with it.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to call me a maxi and they're not my homie, I'll be like,
Oh, no shit.
yeah.
I just learned a lot right there.
I know.
I didn't.
Sorry, it's hard to give one-word answers to these because they're loaded questions.
Oh, that's the point. All right. Altcoins as innovation experiments.
True of about 0.01% of them.
Okay.
The rest are scams.
0.01% smash.
Yeah.
Companies holding Bitcoin on their balance sheets before profitability.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of having like some Bitcoin on your balance sheet, and I think it's a good treasury asset.
Bitcoin tattoos on a first date.
Like going and getting them or already having them?
First date, Bitcoin tattoos.
I'm gonna pass on that.
Bitcoin conferences turning into influencer festivals rather than technical gatherings.
That's a crypto conference, not a Bitcoin conference. That doesn't actually exist at a Bitcoin conference. It's never happened.
Naming your dog Satoshi.
Awesome.
Naming your kid Satoshi.
Not so much.
Bitcoin ETFs becoming the main onboarding path for new investors.
I would say inevitable. So you can't rule smash or pass because it's just something that was always going to be. Okay. It definitely happened like 6 years earlier than I thought it would.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bitcoin price predictions on podcasts.
Awesome. Smash those.
You hated the smash or pass. I don't even think you gave me an actual smash or pass. I think you gave me like 1 or 2.
I'll smash that last one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, perfect. And I definitely smashed talking about Bitcoin at parties.
This is true. This is the first one. Yeah, first one and last.
First and last.
So, Cory, it's kind of funny that we meet today. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Just for context, anyone listening, we met at a co-working space, which is epic. We sat next to each other. I was just reminding you that I actually built the very first iteration of your initial idea of a website and what that all has come to be. And I'm so proud of you, bro. Like, you've been doing amazing and you've just gotten after it. And honestly, I thought you were a little crazy for a minute. And I was like, wow, this guy has a really big vision. And that's the point. I think that's what it takes to have a big vision, right? And just really go after it. And you went after it, man. So yeah, I'm proud of you. It's awesome.
Expand.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So today is actually probably the biggest crash we've had on Bitcoin in a long time. I normally don't pay much attention because people are very emotional around this stuff and they pull money I've actually never sold Bitcoin. I've been buying since I met you, actually.
Nice.
So you were definitely the first person that introduced me to it. And one of the first things you said to me, you said, Seb, don't invest in something you don't really understand.
That's true.
So I went out and I printed a 50-page dissertation that was called a technical explanation of Bitcoin for non-technical people. And I just sat there and fucking read that whole thing, and I got excited about it. I said, oh, I get it. So I get it, and I bought a whole coin at the time. And anyway, the rest is history. And so I don't pay much attention to crashes because it fucks with my head. So I'm like, I just let it be,
Yeah.
But today it crashed significantly. It's around 66, which it hasn't been that for quite some time.
Yep.
Why does this happen? How does a big crash work as opposed to the normal ups and downs?
Yeah. So just for context, let's see. I think the last time it was this low was probably like September, maybe early October of 2024. So like right before the election, I think is the last time we touched this level. So you're coming up on like a year and a half ago almost. So yeah, it's a significant pullback. It's very stressful for people that may have come in, when the price was 120 or 125 or even, 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not that much of a pullback. Like you're not even at a 50% drawdown from peak to where we are now in an asset that historically has had pullbacks of a lot more than that. Right. So, if you suffered the whole Sam Bankman-Fried led collapse in 2022, that was a drop from, I think, 69K to 15.5 and as 84% or something like that. Maybe it was a little less, 77% or something, but it's a lot, right? So, I think that the thesis of these kind of 4-year cycles that you've typically seen, there was a big bull market peak in 2013 and then one in 2017, one in 2021 and one in 2025 that had huge pullbacks after them. It didn't rise up nearly as much in 2025 as it did in the previous cycles, like on a percentage basis.
Right.
And so I think that with kind of like a lower percentage rise, there should be a lower percentage trough after that. And so, I think my expectation is like the worst you'll see in this is something like 50 or 60% drawdown, but not kind of like upper 70s or low 80s or something like that, like you've seen in previous cycles. I just don't see it. There's just too much structurally that's changed. There's too much automatically on the bid with people just doing like automatic buys into ETFs and governments and companies buying Bitcoin and like so many more people that understand it and are used to this.
Yeah.
And the other thing that happens is just like technically once you get to, a pretty big drawdown, a lot of the people that always trade these cycles have sold, north of 100K or around 100K. And then they come back in when they start to see, 50, 60, something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll see.
And is there a reason why these things happen? There's always so many reasons, but when it's that big, being major sell-offs, is that what's going on?
So there's a few things. So I think there was always going to be, a lot of sell pressure around 100K just from people that got in at 100 and got in at 1,000 and got in at 10,000. It's just kind of like a round number that feels like, okay, I can take some off the table here. So I think that's part of it. I think there's, structurally, there's been a steady march of the institutionalization of Bitcoin and the financialization of Bitcoin going back to like probably 2018 with the launch of futures on the CME. But there's just been so much more with the ETFs and all these, all the banks sell Bitcoin now to their private clients and to institutions and stuff like that. So I just think it's just, there's more options, there's more derivatives, there's, Bitcoin treasury companies like MicroStrategy that have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And I just think it makes it just kind of more subject to the whims of the broader market. And because Bitcoin trades 24/7, and because so many people understand, we were just talking about buy what you know, a lot of these institutional managers understand stocks and bonds and real estate and gold like really well. They've been around it their whole lives. So Bitcoin is something that they understand the least well. And it's new and risky. And, you have like political pressures. If you have Bitcoin in your portfolio and you didn't sell that and then it goes down more, it's like, everybody's in stocks, so you can kind of just like blame the market if it goes down.
Right,
If you're the guy on your desk that has Bitcoin in your portfolio still and it crashes, like you might actually be super fucked. So it's kind of like risk on still, even though, it eventually I think will be base money for all humans. Today it's still a speculative store of value and has a long way to go. And so, I just think it's one of those things where it's one of the first things that institutional money managers will sell.
Yeah.
It's not nailed down and they can cover their ass buying other things that are down. So I think there's a lot of people like selling Bitcoin over the weekend to buy SaaS companies that crashed on Friday, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at something that Swan Instagram account had posted actually about how much silver and gold had dropped at the same time, and typically if silver and gold had that big of a drop, that the Bitcoin drop would have actually been even greater. Yeah, even worse. So I was comparing it kind of in percentages because silver and gold haven't dropped that bad in a long time. So
that's good to know because I actually don't think I've been on the Swan Instagram account in probably 5 or 6 years, but I actually created that idea for the post. So I'm glad that went out because silver's down from like 125 to 70 an ounce or something like that. And Bitcoin is down from like 82 to 66. Like it's a much shallower drop versus silver. Gold is holding up pretty nicely, but so I talked about the 100,000 thing. I talked about the institutionalization thing. There's two other things that I think are kind of like headwinds or just, challenging. One is which is related to kind of the structural and everything. It's just the headwinds of so much uncertainty around financial policy, tariffs, geopolitics. It's just kind of all the noise around the administration and kind of just things that the U.S. is doing.
Well, I was actually going to ask you about that. In general, I feel that in general, chaos helps Bitcoin. Like chaos in the world, uncertainty, financial uncertainty. To me, it seems that it helps. And for me personally, too, psychologically, I'm like, well, fuck all this. I'm going to go over here. Like, to me, it's safer.
Yeah.
But do you think that's true?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear it's not great for near-term price. That's probably true. I think it's really good for encouraging people to get into Bitcoin. And so it's good for Bitcoin adoption. So when, those Cypriots froze the bank accounts, that drove a wave of like, oh, that could happen. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And those people like never forget that, right? And
but those are kind of like smaller fish. These
are
sort
smaller fish. Well, the rest of the world sees it though.
Yeah.
Right. And so, if you are Argentinian and you've been through currency debasement,
right.
Brazilians are suffering through it. The Turks have been dealing with it, I went to Turkey for the first time in 2010. It was 1.5 lira per dollar. Now it's 44.
Yeah.
15 years later. So you just kind of like,
I've experienced it like that with Argentina.
Yeah. So many devaluations, brutal, right? My wife grew up counting lira in the trillions, before they knocked 9 zeros off it or something.
Yeah.
She's buying candy for millions of zeros.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, the marketing for Bitcoin is out there all the time. I think, one of the headwinds probably
putting in your t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin marketing department. I wore this specifically for you because I know you like marketing and advertising and things. So I dug out the marketing department t-shirt, but yeah, that's the Swan logo. And I got to have a little Bitcoin necklace, of course, obviously. Yeah, I was coming to Venice. So I was like, I got to wear a necklace outside the t-shirt. And
this used to be your hood, so.
It's true, actually. The first apartment I ever had was on Navy.
That's right.
In LA, like 2 blocks from here. And then I think the other one is just something that you wouldn't even know about being from outside the industry, which is just that there was a massive crypto market crash and dislocation on October 10th. And a lot of the big players, primarily the offshore Asian exchanges like Binance and Wobi and OKX and all those guys, basically tons of market makers blew up. All the traders blew up. They're all suing each other. They're all accusing each other of crime and fraud, and like everybody hates each other.
Yeah.
And they're all facing like massive losses. And the only thing they can sell that actually has demand is Bitcoin.
Interesting.
Because you can't sell an illiquid small cap shitcoin and get any money out of it because you'll crash the price immediately. So the only thing that has any resilience as you're selling and has any liquidity is Bitcoin. So, the last 48 hours or something, like 80% of the net selling volume in Bitcoin has just been Binance itself. Like it's all the offshore shady crypto traders just dumping Bitcoin to try to not be bankrupt.
Interesting. You guys have at Swan, you have big time investors now. You have these high net worth clients and things like that.
Yeah.
Which are the ones that invest large chunks, and you guys do it for them. Do these people?
They press the button.
Do they freak out? Or do you have people
Our
freaking out?
clients don't tend to, and they have somebody to call if they want to talk about it, right?
Right.
That's the whole model is, you know, we focus on kind of high net worth people that are really into Bitcoin. They're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
We kind of recruit the clients that we want, which are the ones that are going to buy and hold it for the long term. All of the onboarding is around don't buy anything that you'll need to access in the next 5 to 10 years. This thing takes a while. Like, you know, just don't, and don't buy more than you can
Lose.
Well,
It's kind of with anything.
don't buy more than you can afford to lose, but also don't get over your skis and buy more than your corresponding level of understanding, right? Which is why it was important that you read something that resonated and actually made it click for you. The resource you mentioned actually reminds me a lot of one of the ones that helped me a lot, which was my co-founder's book that he wrote in 2019, which is why I met him in the first place, which is Inventing Bitcoin. And it's really like he's super technical, but he also is an amazing writer and communicator. And it's like, it's 2 hours, it's 2 hour read, a 2 hour listen.
You get it. Yeah.
100 pages, like big print, and you get it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the show. If you love the show, please share it with a homie. It would mean the world to me. Also want to let you know that you can check out sebastiannam.com for more resources like this. And also www.goglobal.agency, a digital marketing agency that's end-to-end, helping purpose-driven and mission-driven brands scale their impact. Again, that's goglobal.agency or sebastiannam.com. Please hit me up straight up on Instagram, DM me, ask me questions. I'd love to connect with you and see what you thought about this episode or other episodes and what you want to hear more of. Much love. So the biggest thing for me right now, I think for a lot of people, that causes any kind of uncertainty or fear is the whole quantum computing thing, right? So you got quantum computing as this, at least I think a lot of people aren't really talking about it, but my algorithm is feeding it to me, right? So can you explain quantum computing like you had to for like a 3-year-old or not a 3-year-old, third grader or fourth grader, if you could, to like the difference between quantum computing and regular computing?
Yeah.
How do you see that threat?
At some point, whether it's 30 years from now or 70 years from now, we'll probably have like functional quantum computers.
Because I'm seeing like 5, 10. That's why I want to ask about real time
bullshit.
Why is that bullshit?
Because it's not possible. We don't have, like, these things are not stable and they're not able to do the things that the people that are raising money for these penny stock companies are claiming. So it's basically a big pump and dump. There's a bunch of like penny stocks that say they're doing quantum something and they've rolled out all the influencers and tried to pump their stocks, but it's bullshit.
So what is quantum computing then in comparison? How do you very simply explain it?
I'm not into it more than I needed to be to know that it wasn't a threat to Bitcoin anytime soon. That's all I really care about because I'm pretty focused on like my knitting.
Yeah.
You know, I focus on what I focus on. So quantum is just like, was a theme to pump and dump a bunch of stocks over the summer. And it got noisy around Bitcoin because there's one venture capitalist that basically every time he wants to raise a new fund, he finds something to get really noisy about. So the last time he invented Operation Choke Point 2.0, which wasn't real. And that became a huge theme and was something that Trump ran on and claimed happened to them, but it was all bullshit. And so he went really hard at all these like quantum rumors. Basically like by being the expert that raises the flag and says it's like, you know, fuck, we're all going to fucking die. That's how he recruits LP conversations to raise money for his next fund.
Interesting.
So he's like the Cassandra, supposedly, that says everything is horrible, but please come talk to me so I can raise money from you.
Interesting.
But it's basically...
I started going down a bit of a rabbit hole on it.
Yeah.
And just trying to understand what it even means in general. This is how I understand it, which is basically like in terms of the amount of information that a computer can process at once. It's doing it like millions of like at a time, all at the same time, so way faster. So technically, it could break passwords way easily. Like, but in theory, it could. If we break Bitcoin, we're breaking banks, right? So it's breaking everything. Like it's breaking the whole system, right?
So first, if you have quantum hacking, you can also have quantum encryption, right?
And so that's what I'm getting at. That's why I'm like, oh, should I be investing in like quantum cybersecurity companies, like who's in that right now. And I was looking at like IBM's doing stuff around it. Google's, people are obviously on it.
Yes,
So
they're on it, and the pump and dump already happened. They already zoomed up and crashed, and all the fast money already got out like 4 months ago. So the theme's over.
Yeah.
And it was a nice pump for those people, but you can also ignore that if you're a normal human and you're not an insider.
All right.
So it was kind of like shit coins. It was basically like new ICOs, but it was like quantum penny stocks.
Got it. So Cory, you raised over $150 million in a space that most investors kind of freak out about. How do you do that, dude?
Well, so that's a lot more than what Swan has raised. I think we're in like the 60 to 70 range, something like that.
Okay.
I
don't know where I got my information.
No, it's fine. But
yeah,
into Swan Institutional, which is like other people's money that stays their money.
Got it.
And we put it to work for them. That was probably over 400.
Okay.
Historically.
So Swan's raised over 60 million
for the company.
For their company.
For us to grow.
Let's go into that before we go into the other. Sure. Right. Like, so how do you go out and raise those tens of millions of dollars?
I mean, I guess if you count that 400 for Swan Insto, like I'm definitely north of $1 billion raised all time, across a lot of different companies. So I've been raising money since business school, since 2024. My second year in B school, I started raising money for projects, restaurants, nightclubs, real estate funds, like whatever I could get my hands on. I had just done the entrepreneurship sequence at University of Chicago for my MBA. So I did finance and entrepreneurship and international business. And entrepreneurship, basically, this was before startups really started to explode in the zeitgeist. So interestingly, a lot of good startups later came out of Chicago, but at the time it was basically the entrepreneurship sequence is how do you make money off of entrepreneurs? So it was like venture capital term sheets, private equity term sheets, like all the Excel modeling. And so you basically like learn how to, it's funny. And then, ripping apart pitch decks and stuff like that and just kind of seeing how different businesses, like what are their drivers and what makes them a good business or a bad business. And so that was kind of the grounding. And, basically just took that. I used to laugh about it because it basically meant that you were really good with Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. That's basically like the skill set is, can you use Microsoft Office back then? Now it's all Google Docs. But yeah, I've been just doing that ever since as a sideline. And then, I think when we met, I had just left Google, I think. Yeah. So I left Google. I was at the Binoculars building for like 6 months here after moving out from Chicago. So I was here at the Venice office for Google, and I left at the end of June of 2013 and did full-time angel investing and advising of Silicon Valley venture-backed CEOs. And, I positioned myself as like a strategy advisor, but the entry point almost always was a company had either just raised and needed to figure out how to spend it, or they wanted to raise and needed to figure out like how to fix up the strategy and figure out how to raise the round. So I just got a lot of experience. I only worked directly with CEOs, and I only worked with CEOs that were funded by VC.
Okay.
And so I got to see the inner workings of all of it and got to write checks alongside a lot of these guys and just kind of, it started out, I think, mostly initially, I was always kind of shuttled in by the VCs.
Yeah.
So they would like look at their portfolio and kind of like insert me into companies that needed help. And then I started to get passed around like founder to founder. So a founder would have a good experience having help for 9 months or 2 years or whatever, and it would pass me around. So I did that full time basically for 7 years. I did it from, June or July of 13 all the way through April of 2020. Having started Swan in June of 2019, I didn't give up my last advisory role until April of 2020, which was a few weeks after Swan actually launched to the public. And I was like, okay, I guess this is a thing.
Yeah.
It's real. I can, ditch my last advisory role.
Yeah. What do you think is the common thread really? Is it just relationships? Is it forming like real, true friendships, relationships, giving value? Because then years later, when you needed to raise for yourself, you went back to all these guys, all these people that already knew you, that trusted you, etc.
No,
different things.
I don't think so.
Knowing people.
I think that, look, my experience, and this is probably just what I've experienced because of how I see things and how I do things and, what I bring to the table, is that the relationships, are born from value exchange. It's from like whoever you actually add value for is who stays in touch.
Yeah.
And if you don't add value or if you take value, then those
Yeah.
people that you do that to kind of run away and don't want to help. There are other ways, right? Which is like, partying together
Right.
or going to Tahoe all the time or whatever. And people do that. Because I got into the whole startup tech ecosystem after having my first kid, and I was done partying and I was done traveling around all the time. Like I wanted to be home. I have built a very different career path than what you think of. Like if you watch Silicon Valley, or you just think of like, Shervin Pishavar running around with celebrities and shit, or like whatever. Like it's just not, I'm not staying up. I'm not having like late night poker games and going to like Tulum and, doing like ayahuasca with other VCs to become homies. It's a dominant strategy of the last 20 years is to party your balls off, collect compromat on people, essentially, shared illegal experiences.
Interesting.
Ideally, and your homies, and have to do deals with each other.
So the other side of that is more of your strategy, which has been really shared value.
It's just much more solid and kind of more in line with like my personality, I guess, or just kind of my approach.
What's the biggest objection? Like when you got objections, when you get no's, what are the common themes or subjects or reasons they give you no's?
I mean, most people just don't understand Bitcoin. And in Silicon Valley in particular, and I would extend, like that's a word that doesn't just mean the physical place. Correct. It's the entire ecosystem across lots of cities. It was pretty much fully co-opted by shitcoins and ICOs for 6 or 7 years, and they plowed $100 billion into better Bitcoins that were all doomed. And that was Andreessen Horowitz and Sequoia and everybody on down from the top two.
Yeah.
We're just like obsessed with crypto shitcoins because it seemed like free money.
Yeah.
You could print this thing out of nowhere, and if you market it well, you can dump it at the top, like David Sachs did with Solana and Chamath, right? This is what they do.
Yeah.
And now that's gone, which basically has pushed all of crypto, all of non-Bitcoin crypto is basically, if it exists still, it's finance. So Bitcoin is money, crypto is finance. And the bull case for crypto is to become part of TradFi, which is what they're doing. So Coinbase sells stocks, and they're doing prediction markets and prop bets and gambling and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's gambling.
Yeah. So there's almost no white space between.
Yeah.
Robinhood and Coinbase have the exact same offerings now.
Interesting. What about like your second biggest player, like Ether, that has the smart contracts, that has a utility?
The token eventually is doomed.
The token itself.
Like there's no reason to own Ether for the long term. Like if you need transaction fees to use Ethereum for something, like buy it when you need it. So, they used to say, it was so funny. It was such an own goal for them back in like, I don't know, it was 2016 or 17. They started saying, Bitcoin is gold and Ether is oil. And it's like, when's the last time you hoarded oil? Like, where's your giant, pool of oil in your backyard? But there's precedent going back 7 millennia for hoarding gold. So yeah, Bitcoin can be digital gold. That's fine. It's better because it's digital in a lot of ways. But I don't want digital oil because I don't want oil anyway. When I need it, I just go fill up my tank.
So that's an interesting analogy there.
Yeah. There's a guy named John Pfeffer that wrote a long paper in 2017 that just kind of like destroys the utility token value thesis. Like they don't hold value, and none of them have.
Cory, early on, I remember this because I remember you building this, and you were giving away little slivers of equity to a lot of ambassadors, people that were of influence, educators, creators, authors. I don't know how many people you did this with, but I felt like it was a very untraditional way to do it, especially in this world. And I think it's in most startups, it's not very common to give away slivers of equity for people of influence. This is very different than paying influencers to talk about you. Very different, because you're bringing people that really believe in you on board. So first of all, is this something that you would do over again? How did that work out for you?
Yeah. So the original thesis was, I had been around startups for a long time, going back to the late 90s, early 2000s. And I had a content background. I had undergrad in broadcast journalism, and I was a really shitty local NBC TV reporter in like 97, 98. Did you not know?
Great. No.
I'll find the beta tapes in the garage sometimes.
Good shit.
It's horrible. It's like a half notch better than Boom Goes to Dynamite. That's it's really bad.
That's funny.
So I was always in that. And, when I worked at Microsoft before B School, it was actually like on the content side and, kind of like interactive television for NBC and stuff like that. So I always kind of was interested in that. I also became really good friends when I was in Chicago with the first employee of 37 Signals, which is Basecamp. So Matt Ruby was their author, and he wrote Rework and Remote for them, and he wrote the first 8 years of Signal versus Noise. So I was kind of always tracking how they did things, and I just loved that education and content was what they led with for customer acquisition. It was you build trust by adding value. And I still really believe in like giving people something to earn their business before they're ever a customer. And I just kept on being attracted to that. So there was like, I've been involved in maybe 65 companies over the last decade or something. I'd say probably like a good third to half of them use content-led acquisition. Robinhood Snacks in my industry is similar, right? So they have Sherwood News, which is a news site. Andreessen does it with what's their platform called? Future or something. So they have like podcasts and publications and things like that. And that's kind of the top of funnel for their whole ecosystem. VC blogs are kind of like that too, right? Yeah. But I just loved that. Casper, the mattress company, basically has, I forget what their content is, but it's all around like sleep and healthfulness and mindfulness, but it all ties back into being well rested. So I always had kind of an eye for that, and nobody was doing it in Bitcoin. I became obsessed with Bitcoin. It was something that I uniquely could do that I didn't need to hire anybody to do because I knew how to do it. So it's like when you are one person and you have no employees and no leverage through labor, the only thing that I knew how to do was that. And so, and in the whole industry, most of these people, like podcasters, authors, whatever, like they knew nothing about building businesses. They knew nothing about startups. They weren't aware that that was like a way that you could do things. It was, and a lot of them just kind of ended up being people that were like, they didn't have big audiences. It was just them. They were showing proof of work that they cared and that they knew something. So essentially all of the podcasts that you might see or the people writing about Bitcoin were essentially auditioning for work. And so, my first co-founder was the author of what I still think is the best intro to Bitcoin, Inventing Bitcoin, which we now give away at swan.com/free book. You can grab that. You can also, by the way, I'm going to try this for the first time. I told my PR team that I was going to just tell people my email address when I'm on podcasts from now on, because I don't get emails anymore, right? Everything's on Slack, right? So Cory at swan.com, Cory at swan.com. If you want resources, if you want to be a Swan client, like email me. I don't care. Like, it's fine.
You've made it in life when you're asking for emails, because you don't get emails anymore.
I don't get emails.
Fucking great.
I know. Nobody emails me.
Jealous. I'm
just like sitting there like, yo, is there anything? Does anybody want to talk to me? So yeah, for real, Cory at swan.com. Start putting it out there more often as just kind of like a way to engage with people. Why not? I mean, everybody can DM me on Twitter. Why not email me?
Yeah.
My DMs are open. Cory Swan on Twitter.
There we go.
Yeah, and then my second co-founder, we elevated him to co-founder a few years later, but Brady was a top 5 Bitcoin podcaster that happened to have a long career in PR and digital agencies, run a digital agency in Kansas City for like 12 years. So he was like the perfect guy to come in and run product marketing. And Jan was my CTO, and just kind of not the only ones. Brandon Quidham, who runs a lot of operations and he runs investor relations. He's a famous writer and podcast guest. He's the guy that wrote The Mycelium of Money, which is all about comparing Bitcoin to a mushroom network.
Yeah.
He's also kind of like the resident expert in the space about the fourth turning.
Oh, really?
And kind of translating fourth turning for a Bitcoiner audience. And he's always a popular guest, super thoughtful guy. So kind of on and on, like it was a good place to draw from for talent.
These are people that became a
Swan employee
part of it. Yeah, they became employees.
Yeah.
So was there also a group of ambassadors?
Externally?
Yes, so that were ambassadors.
And that, I don't know if I wouldn't say ambassadors. Like they had to bring something to the table. Like you and I used to chat about marketing, and some of the things I just relayed, like we talked about in 2019, and we were talking product and, fundraising and stuff like
SEO
that.
at the time.
SEO.
I met,
Yeah, I think
I would have gave him, we audited your first websites. I remember with Brady and we gave him SEO stuff.
I think we were clients for a little while, like 6 months or something.
Yeah,
early days. Yeah, and Anders. So Anders, for instance, is a good example. So there was a guy named Anders, well-known Bitcoiner, has a podcast and stuff, but he's also an SEO expert going back to 2005 or something is when he started his agency. Lived in LA. I met him and, he advised us off and on for years, sometimes doing the work himself, sometimes being kind of like a check on other agencies that we'd bring in. And he knew SEO and SEM.
Right.
And he could sit in on meetings if we were meeting a new agency and like ask good questions, and like just having that stable of people that have functional expertise that may not want to work on Swan full time.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you can't have them on your team. And so there's a concept, that I would call, I'm sure I didn't invent it, but maybe somebody else did, but I just call it fuzzy edge or fuzzy edges. And it's like trying to expand the fuzzy edge of your company and have more people feel like they're on the team. By giving them something that they can do to help.
So they're definitely, so I wouldn't call them ambassadors then. They're not necessarily ambassadors. These are people that could be good ambassadors because they already believe in the mission. They could be great to carry that out. But really they were bringing value.
Mm-hmm.
They were all bringing value.
They were all bringing
some hands-on.
Yeah.
Yeah, all tangible value. Some very hands-on. Yeah, some not. I mean, some value could be, that they were using their podcast or their email list to, shout out Swan or something like that.
But if that's all they were doing, then I should be sponsoring.
Then that would have been just right. Because then that would have just like an influencer strategy or something like that, right?
It'd just be buying media.
Yeah. So these are people that really came in and brought in value.
Yeah, they had to do something else, not just have an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The audience was like a plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you just mentioned, like audience plus, even now, there's nobody associated with Swan that just has an audience and that's it. That's just not a thing. Like,
they're bringing,
Lynn Alden is on my board. It's not because she's considered like the top macro analyst that also talks about Bitcoin. It's because she's a genius and adds so much value on our strategy.
Yeah.
That's
great.
But I learned about her because I was reading her stuff, but then I sought her out because of her giant brain.
That's awesome. I love that. And it's all based around education, or most of it has to do, obviously there's people that could bring in marketing, and whatever different skill sets, but a lot of it is education is sort of the core.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's, I would say there's 3 legs of the stool basically for a good private client experience, which is kind of what we think of as the bulk of our business, our private clients. Like education and research is one of them. Another one is just the incredible client service. So it's kind of like white glove concierge service. It needs to feel like Goldman, PWM, or Morgan Stanley, PCS, private wealth management, private client services. So you have to give somebody that's like sophisticated that they can talk to. And then I'd say the third one is like experiences, events, conferences, Swan salons, which,
Swan salons,
you used to come to Tech Salon Monthly before.
You used to do it was that
once a month that it was Monsoon.
What was it?
And then it became 12/12.
12/12.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the promenade.
Yeah. So I started that in 2011
yeah.
in Chicago, and it was called Tech Salon Monthly. And I used to usually do it at Sushi Samba, River North. And then I came out here and I found another Asian restaurant. And basically the formula, feel free to steal this, open source. But basically the formula is I would just pay for the first $200 of food.
Yeah.
But not buy people's drinks. Because I don't want freeloaders.
So you just have some snacks.
Yeah. I would just like buy a bunch of sushi or a bunch of appetizers and skewers and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's something to do and some reason to be there. But like if you want to get wasted, like you can do that on your own dime. And that's sustainable for somebody that was like on a salary at Google or wasn't making shit because I was just taking equity from startups for years until some of them started to exit and I could still afford, $200 a month.
Yeah. But otherwise you're getting into this whole, like, I'm going to have to spend like $3,000
right.
or $2,000
trying to throw a full party or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I just think it's enough to get people out, but it keeps the riffraff away.
Yeah. And also, I feel like you were very probably detached from whether you had 5 people show up or 30. You were kind of like,
I didn't give a shit.
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And then you had volume going on there.
Yep.
Right.
And it tells you a lot about like where you are and where, like what you should be doing too. Cause it was, I remember in fall of 18, I was still running Tech Salon Monthly And I was at one of these at 1212, or maybe it was still Monsoon at the time. And there were like, 12 to 15 people there. And every single one of them was a Bitcoiner.
Oh yeah.
There were no more tech people. I had completely,
This is what you had attracted.
I had completely let my like VC startup network
funny.
go fallow and was adding no value for them anymore because I was
Yeah.
completely obsessed with Bitcoin. And they weren't coming because I wasn't in their inbox. I wasn't showing them deals. I wasn't helping them with their deals. I wasn't doing shit because I was, on my 40 HPW shit, which is 40 hours of podcasts a week.
Oh,
It's
man.
a Bitcoin meme, 40 HPW.
40 HBW. Where are you at with podcasts now? A lot less?
I don't have to listen to them anymore.
Well, but do you go on a lot of podcasts?
All the time.
All the
Yeah. I go on TV all the time.
Yeah.
In the story about the crash, the price crash, I'll be, 2 or 3 quotes in the journal today.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's been nuts. I mean, we've been very media focused for a
Yeah.
long time. I've had photo shoots, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Barron's, all in my house. I do CNBC regularly. It's pretty crazy.
You like it?
It's draining.
Yeah.
It's so fun while it's happening because it's an adrenaline rush, and then like the rest of your day is shot. Like I won't do shit the rest of the day today because I'm so focused right now.
Yeah.
And like this is so fun, and then
fun,
everything else after this is gonna suck until I see my kids.
I love that. That's great. I also get that a bit. When I'm recording podcasts, a lot of times we'll do live podcasts with live audiences, and I'm so
you just want to bring your
focus,
A-game.
and you bring your A game, and I'm prepped and all this, and after I kind of want to just chill,
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, well, that's awesome that you're doing all this. What did I want to ask you next? Oh, let's talk about. So Swan was going to go public. Right. So there's all these things about it going public and had conversation close, and
We had a shot, man.
and then
We had a shot in 24. Yeah.
what happened? How does that work?
So in our case, we had a big Bitcoin mining business that we built starting in 2023.
Yeah.
We grew it super fast. So it was the fastest growing Bitcoin miner in history. And so over the next, 11, 12 months through summer of 24, we became like 2% of network hash rate in less than a year, which is unheard of. Unfortunately, a couple of my mining team executives colluded and conspired with our biggest investor in the mining business and stole the whole business.
Really?
So they walked out the door, stole all the IP, stole all the employees.
Really?
And it's basically, think of it like a corporate raid. If so much of the business is based on like who's running it,
Yeah.
there's always the incentive to walk out the door if they can get paid more than they do at your company.
Sure.
It happens on Wall Street all the time. A banking team will walk across the street. A law firm team will walk across the street. So it's kind of like that. But, there's a right way to do it, which is not being in breach of your contract 6 ways from Sunday. And there's a wrong way to do it, which results in massive international litigation, which is what's going on now.
That's what's going on.
So I have
sorry to hear that. That
it
sucks.
sucks. But, it's very separate. But yeah, that was how we were.
Would you have done anything differently looking back?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that you can't always control for the decisions of people outside of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't think so. And I think we'll end up doing really well from it
Yeah.
at some point. I'd rather have it intact. It appears that now my mining team that I put together from my own network, hand selecting the people, is running the largest Bitcoin miner in the world
That's happening right now.
currently. So that's what they've gone on to do, which was completely according to plan and, according to what we planned to do.
So is the IPO conversation alive again? Or is that...
We intend to be a public company as soon as possible.
Okay.
With just financial services and no mining business. Yeah. So we're working on it. I think it's important for us to be public, given our market segment, because we're not mass retail anymore, where everybody that, broadly our client base could see who we were based on like our Twitter and YouTube reputation.
Yeah.
When you're high net worth, those people just Google you. And if you are trading on NASDAQ and they can see the analysts cover you and there's like a price target and they can see your financials, it's trust. It's just a stamp. So I think it is really important at this point that we do go public and that there will be a lot more growth post IPO if we can pull it off.
So you started with sort of the mass market.
Yeah.
The original OG idea with this whole give Bitcoin.
Well, Give Bitcoin lasted,
and then like 6 months, if that.
I mean, we kept it alive for like a year, but as the thesis, it lasted like 1 month. We launched in November.
I loved that.
I did too.
I loved it. It was like
wouldn't have scaled. So it's just a feature.
Right.
It's a feature.
Yeah.
It was a big deal back then because people were just getting into Bitcoin.
I just didn't know how to.
But
if I wanted to gift it to somebody, you know.
What's funny is the pitch that I went out with in, I guess it was like July, August of 2019 was, hey, it's me. I love Bitcoin. I'm going to do this for a while. This is the first product that I've come up with. Everybody loves it and is going to use it. I just want to start a company and then we'll figure out what to do after that. It's a horrible way to start a company generally, and I wouldn't invest in that usually, but you can if it's somebody that you trust that you think is going to execute. And I was able to raise the money to get it off the ground. And then the market showed us what we should be doing. That first month, we launched, I think, November 1st or 2nd. In that first month, 90% of the volume was people giving gifts to themselves.
Really?
Because they fucking hated Coinbase for all their shit coining and scamming. And they wanted to support a Bitcoin-only business. And our fees on recurring purchases were less than half what Coinbase's were. And so they were just loading up and doing that. Even though it sucked, they couldn't, I think it went into an account at a custodian and they couldn't get it for 12 months. And they had to go through a weird gifting flow as they gave it to themselves. And it was still, and then they immediately started getting in touch and asking if they could wire us money instead of going through the ACH pull. And so we were like, okay, we've got something. We should just do a normal brokerage. And so that ended up being Swan. And we rebranded, I think by the first week of January, it was Swan. And we went out and raised more money and launched Swan in March of 2020.
And that was a mass market, a retail product.
Yeah. And that again was pre-ETF. And the market structure was we had to fight it out against the $100 billion of altcoin VC funding to say buy Bitcoin, not shitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, not crypto, went out from the Swan handle every day for 5 years. Yeah. It was like fighting it out with all the scammers. And you don't have to do that anymore since the ETFs launched because Bitcoin completely separated from crypto. Bitcoin is for saving, crypto is for gambling. Bitcoin is money, crypto is finance. They're just very different.
Yeah, and people are really getting that.
Yeah, they understand the difference now.
So when you started shifting into this high net worth, family offices, corporations,
not corporations, by the way. We only do owner controlled businesses.
Okay.
And the key there is we serve principals, not agents.
Okay.
So if you're not making the decision, we're not the right company for you.
Got it. Okay. But in terms of shifting from mass market and retail into the higher network, do you just want to go well, this is really where we make money. This is how we make more of a difference. Do you really just start to go all in on that and focus on that?
We did, yeah. We completely repositioned, starting with kind of understanding that that's what we had to do by the second half of 24 and then making the decision by Christmas and then spending the first half of 25 rebuilding everything around a wealth platform for real Bitcoin. And then it was all the branding and marketing and repositioning over the rest of the year. And yeah, so now it's kind of just is there something to that in business in general of being hey, we can just sell less to a different crowd, we can sell less of an expensive product versus more of a cheaper product, but not being in the middle and just not, you know what I mean? So it's funny. So first of all, this whole thing of not being stuck in the middle is, I think, I don't know why people think that that's a bad thing. There's actually 3 market segments, and there's a reason that there's 3. It's because there are companies that crush it. Whether you go minnows, dolphins, whales, or rabbits, deer, elephants. Yeah. I don't care if you like land or sea, but those are 3 different market segments, and there are insanely profitable companies that serve all 3 segments across basically every vertical. Maybe there just seems to be more companies that go after the middle. Maybe there's just more competition in the middle. I think there's more. I think data on this. I think there's more companies going after mass retail in general, and there's more competition there. Just low to mid. Yeah. And then there's lots of people that are doing boardroom hand-to-hand combat, looking for big contracts, hunting whales or elephants. And I think it's actually more art and science around hunting the middle. That's actually hard because you need a lot of clients, but they need a lot of service. And so how do you scale? How do you scale that? And I think it also leaves you, like Coinbase is never going to do that. And, like Schwab is never going to do
Right.
that. They're both just kind of like mass,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to be able to compete with Goldman to serve institutional. Like they'll give people Bitcoin for a fee, so I don't have that client relationship. So what's
Gotcha.
left, that's the white space, is the middle.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where all the opportunity is like helping families that really give a shit about like long-term ownership of large quantities of Bitcoin with their inheritance problems and tax loss harvesting and retirement accounts and trust accounts and custody, 6 different flavors of custody, depending on where you are, from like fully independent to like fully delegated, and just kind of helping them with everything around Bitcoin.
I think that's probably one of the biggest confusions around Bitcoin for most.
Custody?
Yeah.
Dude, it's the hardest problem in Bitcoin by far.
Yeah. So I was even thinking about, for a long time, I kept Bitcoin in exchanges, which when it really grew, I started kind of worried about it. But that's kind of a lot of money in an exchange that could technically get hacked. I'm not really insured for it and all that. And I was even thinking about, from a custody standpoint, I was like, actually, now that things have gone down, it's actually a better time to pull a lot of the times. I know Swan doesn't have withdrawal fees, by the way.
That's right. Never charged for a withdrawal.
Exchanges have withdrawal fees for the most part, right? Yeah. So anyway, it could be a good time for people that are curious about custody to, if they're not on Swan, to reconsider that.
Check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair to the crypto exchanges, most of them don't charge a percentage of assets on the withdrawal. They're usually just charging like a flat fee or a net fee or something. So, it would be pretty egregious if they were trying to take a percentage of your assets. Some do though. Yeah. Like I won't call them out by name, but some of the custodians out there actually charge a percentage of assets, which is egregious.
So in terms of custody, to explain that to a beginner, really, it has to do with really you having the keys to that Bitcoin, meaning that you own it, as opposed to someone else is holding it for you. Like,
yep. Specifically, like it's probably a better. We always talk about like hardware wallets and keys and things like that, but it's basically like if you have the key, you can move the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is actually like on the Bitcoin ledger that we can all see, and you can see where it is. It's pseudonymous, so I don't know whose Bitcoin is what, but there's somebody has a key to move the Bitcoin that you see that's at this address. Yeah. So it's an unspent amount of Bitcoin that can be moved by somebody that has that key. So that's how you think about it. So protecting those keys and the fact that that is the only way that you can move Bitcoin is a tough concept. It does map pretty well to like physical gold. Like, what is your trust model? Do you keep the physical gold in a vault?
Is it like in your house, or is it in a vault in a bank?
Or do you just trust some company to keep it in their vault in the Swiss Alps and you have an account?
Which is what Swan would be for in this case, yes?
So Swan has everything. We have full self-custody. We have supported self-custody where like we help you with your hardware wallet and stuff. Mm-hmm. We have Swan Vault, which is you have a multi-signature setup where 2 out of 3 keys. So there's 3 keys. If you have 2 of them, you can move the Bitcoin. Right. And so in Swan Vault, the client has 2 keys and Swan holds 1.
What's a very direct, clear example of 2 out of 3 keys?
2 out of 3 would be like, so I have it and I keep 1 in a place that none of you know. Yeah. And then I keep 1 on my desk.
And
and then Swan has 1. And so I can sign a transaction by using my key on my desk and Swan with a video call. Yeah. Or if Swan goes belly up, I can take the trip and go and get the other key. And with those 2 keys, I can sign.
You want 2 instead of just 1 because that's just more secure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we're building something else, which is distributed keys across 3 institutions, which is like Swan and you share a key that you can do with biometrics on your phone. And then there's another one in another jurisdiction that has a key and a third one in another jurisdiction that has a key. So nobody can control it or move it unilaterally. And you have to do 2 video calls to move the coins. So you can deposit always to an address, right? But to move coins out of it, you'd have to do 2 video calls with 2 different institutions. So it's like the Rolls Royce of security, basically. Yeah. And then there's fully delegated custody, which is like, hey, I just have an account and they're holding the Bitcoin for me, but I can withdraw it whenever I want.
I think this is a really good topic for people to know more about and learn more about. You guys have specific education around this
all the time.
I assume,
all the time. Yeah. You can also email me if you want to know more. I'm waiting for some email.
Bro, you're dying for those emails, man.
Oh, somebody emailed.
Thirsty for emails. My goodness.
Yeah.
So
My wife doesn't understand why there are Epstein emails, by the way, because she's born in 85 and she's like,
texting.
she doesn't understand why she's never put an intimate detail on any email because she's never used email personally for anything. She grew up with phones and text message. And so for her, email is purely a work tool.
Yeah.
And so she does it like she's blown away that old ass boomer creeps are
like
emailing sensitive things.
Yeah.
Like, how are you putting that on email?
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
So
I found out that because I was born in 84.
yeah.
When I was first reading some of that stuff, I'm like, wait, what?
Why are you emailing?
I mean, I made that. I was like, oh, that's right. Because
They're boomers. Yeah.
that's funny. So, Cory, how does Cory Klippsten, the human being, stay grounded within all this stuff? You know, kind of this added fame and growth and all this money and, you know, rubbing shoulders with
Well, I don't have any money. That's why we have to keep growing. Also, I lost all my Bitcoin in a boating accident.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, it sucks. I know. It's a tragedy. That's a Bitcoin meme. Lost it in a boating accident. No, man, I think the kids ground you, the wife grounds you. Hopefully you have a strong personality in your partner that'll keep you in check. Way before ever starting a company or even before, my professional career, I certainly had the two sides of the coin that come with living in the clouds and like building castles in the air and always like living in a very optimistic future.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit present and most of the time kind of living in the future. And I'd like be here now sounds atrocious to me. Sounds horrible. Like I can't live in Venice anymore. So I'm not particularly present and I'm always like a few steps.
You don't seem that way, man.
Yeah.
You seem, first of all, you're like the same person I met 8 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
You seem very grounded. You seem like you know?
Yeah. No, I'm
in the clouds.
I think I've gotten better.
Yeah.
Actually at that. I'm just saying like my personality type is much more just kind of, dreaming of the future and trying to make shit happen and just like a permanent optimist. So it's good to have a spouse that's like a realist and is firmly planted on the ground and wants you to be there too. So I think that's worked out well. And then, the kids give you some superpowers, which someday, when you have a kid that you actually know about,
It's fucking dick.
little Seb or Sabrina or whatever, when they come along, with an E, Sabrina. So when that happens and you have that blessing, you'll get a couple of superpowers. And those superpowers are basically like you can make decisions really fucking quickly.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go into analysis paralysis because you don't have the fucking time.
Yeah.
And you very quickly start listening to your gut and realizing that your gut actually is the computer that is already doing the analysis that you could never put in pro-con columns.
That's great.
And then the second one is like super easy to say no.
That's
because you want to be around your kids.
Some really quick, simple, clear tips.
Yep.
On just being able to maximize your time, being successful, and just being more grounded and being sane, right?
That
and fast
decisions,
being able to say no more, and trusting your gut more, right? Because I can imagine, I used to be a very cerebral person. Like it's like pros and cons for everything. I would almost build like a spreadsheet, like in the middle of a date in my brain.
Yep.
And it's just trusting your gut more and just go with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Your gut is the computer.
Yeah.
What it really is.
Expecting you to say that, Cory. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's functionally, if you want to get into brain science, it's your amygdala, it's your lizard brain telling you what to do.
Cory, what's the hardest decision you've had to make that the public doesn't really know about? I don't feel shit. I want some real thing. In terms of the company specifically.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was the hardest decision. It was just the hardest thing to do. But it was basically after the theft of the mining business, having to do a RIF. Like we couldn't afford the big company anymore. So we were like 185 people at the time, and 13 walked out the door with the mining team raid, and I had to cut from like 172 to like 85 or 90. At one chop. That's like 50%.
Yeah.
And they were all Bitcoiners. We interview for that. Like they have to be into Bitcoin, which feels like part of your family.
Yeah.
So it was truly like absolutely brutal.
Because it wasn't just BS hires.
No. No, everybody was good at their job, and we had a huge growth path. We were
trimming fat, but it's not really fat.
It wasn't
You're
fat.
just trimming. Yeah, you're trimming that.
You're cutting into
delicious
muscle.
Yeah.
It was lean beef.
Lean
beef. So yeah, that really sucked. And it was something that we had to do, and I'd never had to do it before. We'd never done layoffs and haven't done it since. The one thing I would say that we decided to do was, and I will say this was I think a good decision, was we decided not to allow for the opportunity to have multiple rounds of cuts. Because if you do one and you say there's going to be one, but then you do another one,
then you lose.
They don't know.
They
might think there's going to be a third and a fourth and a fifth.
Then it's 1 foot out the other.
And so we cut like deeper than deep. We easily could have gotten away with a 30% riff, and we did 50, and that saved the company.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yeah, it was really fucking hard. But we wear our heart on our sleeve, and they know what we're in it for. And most of these people are still close friends. I think we rehired 8 of them.
Oh, nice.
Over the next year.
Yeah.
And they all still come to our events, and we see them at conferences and see them at Twitter, and we helped a lot of them get jobs at other Bitcoin companies. I'm invested in like 15, so I shot around a lot of resumes, and
nice.
We actually had a signal group for the Swan alumni where we were all helping each other, helping them land and stuff like that. So I think it's like, if you kind of just live what you believe and what you stand for, like, people know.
Yeah, that's great. We'll get a couple more questions for you before I let you go. If everything gets executed to your future vision, you as your future self in 10 years with Swan, where are you at? What are you seeing? How does the way people think and feel about money change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think so let's see, what is it, 2026? So you're talking like 2036. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's well over $1 million, maybe $2 million a coin. It's starting to be used much more widely in the West as a medium of exchange, where people are actually like spending Bitcoin, at cash registers and on cars and things like that. A lot more people are starting to actually think about their net worth and their account balances in Bitcoin terms rather than dollar terms. So you're starting to get the 3 stages of money are like store of value, then medium of exchange, then unit of account. Okay. So it's like much wider use as a medium of exchange, and you're starting to get some people to think about it as how they think about their wealth and their account balance as a unit of account. So that's probably the Bitcoin side of things. And then I guess me personally, like, I'd like to still be running Swan. I think this is an amazing seat. I don't know if I look 48, but I am 48.
Great.
And I don't have any. I'm not a golfer, and like, business is fun and energizes me. So even if I wasn't CEO of Swan, I would still be doing business. And I think this is such an amazing, cool thing to be doing. That's so unique when there's so few companies that are like this.
Yeah.
And, it does certainly seems like the rope ladder has been pulled up after the ones, like, there isn't a Bitcoin financial services company of any consequence that started since 2019. There's like 4 or 5 that predate us. That's the only ones that exist today. And so it seems like, it's really hard to start something. There's been 300 that have started and failed since then, so like, it just seems like, enjoy the seat, ride it forever.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard thing to be a founder of a company like that in general. I mean, I think social media has made things look really cool and cute and pretty on the outside. Things that guys that are heroes that used to never be back in the day. People didn't know CEOs of companies, and now people have big personal brands, and CEOs of tech companies are like the cool kids and stuff. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, everybody wants to be a founder, but then they get into it and they don't know.
The thing is, though, like, you don't have to. You can, like, if that's your growth strategy and like that's, just kind of what you're good at, you do. But like, there's 5, pretty good scaled Bitcoin financial services companies in the US, and the CEO is only publicly out there talking much for 2 of them. It's me and one other guy. The other 3 are pretty background, chill, more like one's a product guy, one's kind of like a general manager type, and one's more of an engineer. And like, they just don't do the media thing. Yeah. They're not into it. They don't like it. It's not their thing. They focus on what they're good at. So you don't have to.
Yeah.
And Swan doesn't need me to do this anymore. It's just like the thing that I can do. It's one of the things that I can do to help. But like if I stepped up to chairman and, one of our other executives became CEO, like they wouldn't necessarily do the media thing all the time.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement. It just happens to be what I'm good at.
I just think that a lot of younger peeps see it as that's like the sexy part of it.
Yeah.
But it's hard work.
Bro, there's nothing sexy about being on TV. Do you know why I quit broadcast?
Why?
I realized that, basically you had to get up at like 4 or 4:30 and put on a bunch of makeup.
Dude.
And I was like, I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Yeah.
It's definitely very humbling when you grow up and you think TV is glamorous. Like
my God.
try a year or two of local news covering like, mid-Missouri city council and like some high school sports.
Yeah.
Like fucking pumpkin patch launches and shit. Like launches. Oh yeah, dude. Absolutely. Like Halloween festivals and fall festivals and shit. Launch. Yeah. And if you really want to know, like you have 3 cameras here and they all run and stuff and it's all digital.
Yeah.
So we were still on tape in the late 90s. It wasn't even digital yet. They went digital like the year after I left. And a lot of times you wouldn't even have anybody else on your story. So you're producing your own stories. So I'd have to set up a tripod, roll tape on the camera, and then like walk around in a circle and go and do my own interview for like my own camera. Yeah. So I didn't even have a cameraman like half the days.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So Cory, this is the Aware with Seb podcast. What is something that just one takeaway that you want people to be more aware of on the Bitcoin side, and one takeaway that you want people to be more aware of from a leadership standpoint as a CEO?
All right. So like on the Bitcoin side, I really do think it comes down to this framing. You earn the right to buy and hold more Bitcoin based on how much you understand it.
Okay.
And they go together. So it doesn't mean that. So I would even think of like, let's say you went on Swan and bought a little Bitcoin, or went on Robinhood or Coinbase and bought a little Bitcoin. The reason that I would recommend doing that is because you're going to now have selective attention and selective perception for Bitcoin information, which is going to have a positive feedback loop and get you deeper into understanding it. But I don't suggest that you go from a standing start and buy a ton of Bitcoin, because you'll just sell it and freak out. It'll just cause stress for you because you don't understand it. So that's probably the main Bitcoin thing. And then I guess on leadership, I would say, I wish those superhero things that, those gifts that you get when you have a kid, I wish I had understood how to develop those much earlier. Like if I had understood to kind of trust my gut and it's make most of the decisions quickly and move on. Yeah. That's the main thing. Like you're going to
fail fast.
You're going to get, you're going to make most of the right decisions most of the time. And like the really big ones, get the committee and do the spreadsheets and stuff. Yeah. Most of the time you can just decide and move on and go fast, because you'll find out if it works very quickly. It's not consequential.
Right.
And then you can adjust based on what you see. So it's more like hypothesis driven, right? Which is actually how they teach you to think in business school. And that's what McKinsey is, right? It's like, I went to McKinsey after B school and it's hypothesis driven. I didn't get it in B school. I didn't understand it at McKinsey. I didn't understand it until I had kids, to just like take an action and then adjust basically is faster and better.
I think that's great.
Yeah. And then I think the other one, like I said, if I want to just give like a physical tip, given that I'm in Venice and your podcast is called Aware with Seb, relax your belly. Don't suck in your gut. It makes you short of breath.
Yeah.
And it physically causes your brain to get stressed out if you suck in your gut.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
I mean, it all honestly is, because I think most people, I think about this a lot. I think most of us go through the entire day without really taking a deep breath. Yeah. I force it just before meals, because it's just like a good cue. It's like a habit stack where I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat a meal. I'm going to slow down. And then some days I realize, oh shit, this is the first time I slowed down all day, where I relaxed, So I think that's a good one, because it's if anything, it's just going to make you think clearer, like you said.
Yeah. I have a mental cue every time I come out of my canyon in the mountains on the way to dropping off the girls. There's the first stoplight. And if I haven't already taken a deep breath by then, that's when I first do my deep breathing for the rest of the ride, basically another 15 minutes or so. But then I also have ChatGPT giving me like a random timed reminder, so I don't know when it's going to go off. Right. And once a day, 7 days a week, my phone goes off and reminds me to
breathe.
Well, the breathing happens automatically. It says make sure your stomach's relaxed.
Yeah, that's great, Cory. Look at that. We got a spiritual guru over here. I didn't even know this. You are actually a changed man. You're not the same.
Clearly, I'm coming back to Venice as soon as the kids are in college, right? I'll be right back.
I love it, man.
Go do some painting or something. Yeah. It'll be great.
Thanks for being on, brother.
Dude,
you're great.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you. Excited to see where your journey goes.
Thanks, all.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you like the show, please subscribe or share with a homie. It means the world to me. And honestly, straight up, just hit me up. The easiest way on Instagram, SEBNAUM. Ask me questions. I want to be here as a resource and a source of inspiration. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. Much love.